folks, Papa Boris here, playing some more 20 Minutes Till Dawn. There's three, I would say, main archetypes of builds in this game. You got your elemental builds, where you care more about the on-hit effects of bullets than about the actual damage of the bullets. You got your summons, of course. And then there's the weapon builds, where you actually try to play with damage. And obviously there might be some interesting niches to carve out with that, but those are the three main things. So since we've done an elemental build, and then a summons, and then a weapon build, let's go back to the world of the elements and do a very famous, long-time, well-known build. It's not the most mind-blowingly creative, but in case you haven't heard of it, we're gonna play with Abby. Abby's thing is that you can right-click to shoot all your remaining ammo in random directions, and then there's one gun that really obviously synergizes with that, and that is the Batgun. What the Batgun does is it shoots bats. Yes, it's pretty cool. And the bats are summons that chase down enemies. They're also, as you can see, very crucially, bullets and summons, meaning that anything that affects your bullets and anything that affects your summons affects the bats. So we're gonna go ahead and do an elemental build with this. You can also do a kind of summon-oriented thing with it, but again, summons are just kind of strong and they sort of play out the same all the time. So let's go ahead and grab the Batgun. No runes, darkness 0. Here we go. This is going to be kind of similar to the lightning SMGs in that it is an elemental build, although as we shall see, there are some ways that your priorities are a little bit different with this. All right, so here's Abby. You can shoot bats. They, as you can see, will chase the enemy down, but Abby's thing is that if you right click, she turns into a whirlwind and she can move at full speed while doing that. And the fact that the bullets come out in random directions doesn't really matter because the bats home in on enemies regardless. With this, we are still very, very, very interested in the lightning tree because the weapon reload works while she's in her spinning move, allowing her to spin longer. But because the character doesn't have any built-in lightning and because the Batgun doesn't have a lightning evolution, we're not going to be as easily able to just go infinite with it. So we need to prioritize things a little bit differently. One of the things we really like is the double shot, just for more bats. But early, it can be a little tricky to take this since the bats are currently doing nothing but damage at the moment, and this just reduces the damage. So what I'm going to do instead, it's a bit of a tough one here. I don't care too much about move speed because Abby gets to move at full speed while she's in her whirlwind thing. I'm gonna grab Pyromage because it's not our top priority, but this is an elemental build. So we do wanna, light things on fire. And I think I'd rather have that right now for some extra damage than the extra projectiles. Though eventually the extra projectiles are really, really important because the more bats you have, the more on-hit effects you're doing. Woof, this is rough days, man. Summons, move speed, holy shield which we don't care about. So I guess I'm gonna go for magnetism, although this is not super amazing this early. By the way, in case it's not clear, you can of course get damaged while in spin to win mode. And you can see also the bats actually will hit enemies more than once. They don't just expire upon hitting an enemy. They kind of float or like watch that bat. See how it kind of hit two things, even though I don't have any piercing or bounce, though we are gonna want those things. All right, no lightning still. So there's the weird lens, reload, more vision and pickup, more pickup stuff, and soul shield. Ooh, okay. So this is in the short term kind of useful. I think I'm gonna just take it. So the idea is that if you can reload faster, then you can go back into spin to win mode faster. And kill clip is actually very nice with this build because she can spin for a while, kill a bunch of enemies, get a 5% reload speed reduction, which on top of the other reload speeds makes the reload basically instant. So with this build, it's sort of a middle ground between full control and full lack of control. The summons that I did, that's just no clicking. The shotgun is like clicking all the time, same with the lightning SMGs build. This one, you don't have to aim, and you just have to right click every once in a while. Now this is a tough one because all three of these are really good. I want fire rate because the faster you shoot, the faster stuff happens, but first we gotta get the lightning because I do want those weapon recharges. Even if we don't go infinite with the weapon recharge from the lightning tree, extending how long your spin to win mode is active is quite good. So that's definitely the top priority. It's just not as dreadfully desperate as it was when doing lightning SMGs. Because, as you can see, these bats are not actually that bad at killing stuff. Because they don't get used up, and because you have a pretty quick fire rate, the bats are initially stronger than the SMGs are, and the reload isn't as long, so you're not as desperate to get the reloads going as you were with the SMGs. We're going to take Frost Mage. You might notice that I am a really big fan of Frost Mage. I kind of want it in all my builds, and that's just true. It's just something I am okay with. I mean, I want magnetism with all my builds as well. I think it's fine to have a few crutches, as long as it's justified, of stuff that you pretty much always want to take. And freezing stuff is just really good. You get more survivability. You can get into a situation where you're like holding down the gates like we did with the shotgun build, where there's like a billion things on the screen, maybe even more than you can keep up with killing, but it's okay because they can't get to you. Oof, tough one here. We obviously love the Frostbite. I'd love to get that again, but I do think that Energized is still more important. So now, while we spin, we do lightning damage to nearby enemies. We periodically reload bullets, and you can see that we get to spin for just a little bit longer. As we add more bullets to our gun, which will come from the reload tree, and as we find other sources of lightning damage, like the lightning bug, or maybe like electro mastery, then the reloads happen more often, and so we can spin for longer and then eventually reload really fast. I'd say that's maybe not the biggest, but one of the biggest differences between this and the lightning SMGs. The lightning SMGs are much earlier to go infinite, but this is a stronger build until you go infinite, and you sort of get infinite effects. I can't remember for sure because it's been a while since I practiced this, but you do eventually get pretty close to infinite with the lightning recharge, and then you reload instantly and just right click again as soon as you finish reloading. Did I just run into an enemy for no reason? I sure did. Oof. Okay, we got summon, holy art garbage, arrow magic. Okay, so we're taking the glare, which I'm fine with. Eventually that will mean that I am freezing things periodically within my sight range, and I certainly don't mind that. Now let's go get this. Double how fast Abby fires during her special kill. That, I had to say, is pretty lucky. That, I can't remember for sure, but I do think that's the best one. It's not time sensitive. Getting it later, just, upgrades your speed just like getting it early does. I don't remember if she has any time sensitive ones, but yeah, that's a huge boost to our power because it just gets us through our chamber faster and does all the lightning and stuff faster. All right, we got an interesting choice here. We can double damage on the glare and have a bigger vision range. We can just cause the bats to do more burning damage, but I think sight magic makes the most sense here. So now we can freeze anything just by glaring at it, and that will also do damage to it because of frostbite, on top of the actual glare damage itself, of course, and it also helps chip away at the bosses as long as we're near enough to glare them. And of course, any bats that happen to make their way to a boss will help as well. There are some upgrades that we're not seeing, so there is the sniper tree upgrade, which we're still not seeing, and that is the one that gives us piercing, which is good for the bats, and then also bullet bounce. We'll take fireball here. I could open the move tree, but I think I'm fine without it, and I think that just shooting out some fireballs is nice. So it's not quite Vampire Survivors, because you do have some element of control. You choose when to right click to go into the spin mode, and then you also have to aim the fireballs because the fireballs go where you're pointing. We would definitely like to see some upgrades that we passed on earlier. Fire rate is a really notable one that I have to admit, getting kind of itchy for, because having an even faster fire rate would make a big deal. It would make the lightning happen faster. It would cause us to shoot more fireballs faster. Also would be nice to get the electro mastery, just so all these lightning strikes simply do more damage. All right, well, we don't have the fire speed, but we do get our electro mastery, so let's just do more lightning in a bigger area. All right, I'm keeping the cursor on the boss because that will mean that the fireballs go to the boss. And since I'm shooting homing bats, it doesn't really matter where my cursor is. Remember that when I'm spinning, I'm shooting randomly. So the only thing that matters for the cursor is where the fireballs go. All right, well, I do definitely like Tome of Elements. It's a nice safe pick. We have instantly die from taking damage. I think I'd rather not. And then Tome of Power, definitely not. There is a Tome of Rage, which is like the opposite of this, where it increases your bullets by a lot. And that makes it a lot easier to go infinite or close to it. But I don't want this one because I do not want to shoot slower, and I do not want my bullets to do more damage since I don't care about it. So we're going to take the safe Tome of Elements. And while this is an elemental build, and then be like, oh, you lucky dog, you got the Tome of Elements, I actually don't think that was the luckiest thing I could have gotten there. The Tome of Rage, I think, which would have tripled my bullets up to 36 at the cost of doing less damage. I think that's the best thing you can get. Okay, I'm not going to worry too much about where my cursor is. But yeah, if you have played this game and you like, you know, say the Lightning SMG build, but you get hand fatigue from keeping your mouse button clicked the whole time, or if you're playing on a controller and you're having a hard time playing on the controller, this is a really good build for the controller, because when I played on the controller on the Switch, it was actually kind of hard for me to do the twin stick shooting thing, since they did a stupid thing where they made it so that when you push the right joystick, it turns on auto aim, and the right joystick is also what you aim with, so it's really hard to keep aiming and keep pushing like the joystick in a direction consistently without accidentally triggering on auto aim. So my point is that if you want to play on the Switch, but you have a hard time with the aiming, and you want to do something other than summons, this is a really good build for that. Let's go for the Shatter, I think. Oh no, I think this actually. It's tough, you know, whatever. We'll get them all eventually anyway. The chain reactions for the Shatter might not actually be that much because the enemies aren't getting that clustered. At the moment, I'm very, very overpowered compared to my enemies. I think in part, not just because of the upgrades I've gotten, but because of that chest from the first mini-boss being a particularly good one. Doubling the fire rate is just sort of ridiculous. Okay, I'm gonna aim at those eyeballs. You know, I should talk to my stepson about this build. I don't know if he knows about it, because he's been playing on the Switch, and he really likes the game, but on the Switch, again, with the aiming, I just find it maybe we're both just bad with controllers. It's hard to use the controls, but with this build, you get to do something other than summons. All right, interesting one here. I could open up a new tree. This does, of course, get us to the Splinter upgrade, which is the only thing that we really care about here, because it makes it so that when enemies die, they fragment into bullets, and those bullets are bats, which actually home in on other enemies, and then can freeze them and burn them. One thing to note is that there isn't an extra layer of synergy like there was with Spark, because with Spark and the Lightning SMG's build, Spark's special power is that bullets have a chance to do lightning damage. So any bullet that you create has a chance to do lightning damage, which means it also has a chance to reload ammo, which is a part of the reason why Spark has an easier time going infinite without ever having to reload. So the splintering, which can do lightning, is very, very powerful for her. I would say less so for this lady. All right, so Electro Bug is very cool because it makes more lightning, and that means more ammo refills, but we're gonna open up the double shot tree. I've been waiting for this for the low, low price of 10% damage penalty. That doesn't matter at all in this lightest. We get twice as many bats, which is a very, very good thing. And again, with the Lightning SMGs, doubling your bullets means doubling, well, not the Lightning SMGs, it's specifically with the character Spark. Doubling the bullets means doubling your lightning procs, which means doubling your ammo refills. And that is, of course, very good. But here we don't have that element to it, but still, it's just very good to have more things going around causing more freezing. All right, I think this is it. It's not super amazing, but it's just a good upgrade. It increases our damage, and on top of that, there's just, you know, gonna come a point where we're taking nothing but useless upgrades. So getting anything that helps even a little bit feels good. So you can see it takes a little while for those eyes to go down. We're not just quite melting things as much as we were with those dual submachine guns. Remember to keep your cursor pointed toward the eyes, if you have the fireball thing unlocked, of course. If you don't have the fireball, which is in the middle of the fire tree, which is very possible at this point in the game, then you don't really get a whole lot out of it. Okay, still can't quite find the fire rate, unfortunately, but let's go ahead and unlock a new tree. The bullet speed is actually really, really good for this. I think it matters even more for this. You can actually see the difference. It matters even more for this than it, I think, does for the SMG version of the Elemental build, because the bats flying out faster makes up for the fact that, first of all, they're kind of slow to begin with. And second of all, the fact that they have to home in on enemies and they're coming out in random directions. You get to the enemy sooner, which means you trigger all the on-hit effects sooner and all that good stuff. All right, this is a tough one. I definitely would like more max ammo, but we gotta unlock this tree, man. We gotta unlock it. It actually has the bottom upgrade of that tree, the final upgrade, Siege, makes it so that when you're not moving, you have a 33% chance of not consuming ammo. It wasn't relevant for the SMG version of the Elemental build because the SMGs, in addition to, you know, reloading more thanks to Spark's power, we also have the SMG weapon evolution, which shoots out a wave of lightning. So, you know, we just were reloading like crazy. However, with this build, we're not reloading like crazy. Recharging ammo, I should say, like crazy. So being able to get like essentially 33% extra ammo is really strong, especially because it gives you more time for more lightning to happen, for more recharges to happen. All right, more glaring or fanfire. This is not a great selection of upgrades. We got the wrong upgrade. We want this one, not this one. The bullet size is actually not irrelevant, so it's something you could consider taking. This will eventually do nothing, but in the short term, I think I'm gonna take it because it's just like 10 free bats every time I reload. I am still reloading pretty often, and I like the idea of, you know, more bats shooting out of me to freeze more enemies. Since we are kind of getting surrounded here, I don't believe I can just stand still. So I am gonna try to keep getting experience. You'll note, I think if you recall, with the SMGs, we actually were able to stand still at this part and just collect a giant massive XP, but with this we can't quite do it. All right, so every 200th enemy drops a healing item and we get an extra HP. This is basically useless. We got the curse thing here. Curse damage is increased by summon damage. It's not that big of a deal because our curse damage is pretty small. And then we've got burn. So we're gonna take the burning. So now, every time an enemy dies, it splinters. Oh, we haven't gotten that yet. Have we gotten that yet? I actually don't remember if we've gotten the splinter thing or not. But eventually, when we get the splintering, every dying enemy will splinter off into 3 bats. Each of those bats will veer off and cause even more burn damage than usual. And that will help the enemies kill each other. Yeah, I think this is already kind of helpful. Still not sitting still. I need to be getting more stuff. More burn damage is nice. More glare damage is nice. Let's get even more bullet speed. I would like to get to the final upgrade of that tree where you automatically kill enemies below 20% HP. It essentially cuts a fifth of all the HP of the enemies off because there's just bats flying all over the place. So it is very likely that once an enemy dies, once an enemy gets below 20% HP, it will just die instantly from that. And having an upgrade that says your enemies lose 20% of their max health is a pretty big deal. I don't know how that works with bosses. I actually don't know if that will kill things or not. All right, yeah, it just says enemies, it doesn't say not bosses, so maybe. Oh, Jesus. Well, it's a chicken and egg thing here. Do I take this before I take Splinter, or do I take Splinter before I take this? If I take the Splinter first, then we're still getting the benefit of the freezing and the firing of the enemies, but I think that is still just stronger. Even without the splintering, being able to automatically kill an enemy below 20% of its health is a big deal. And on the off chance that it actually applies to bosses, I really want to have that. I still am looking for more fire rate upgrades. That tree has, well, I can't blame anyone but myself. It was offered to me earlier. I prioritized other things, not necessarily incorrectly, but I can't say it wasn't offered to me because it was. So yeah, the experience is a little bit dispersed. I really do want to level up because there are still some upgrades I am very excitedly waiting for, like the fire rate upgrades and that splinter that I just passed up in order to become an assassin. Just collecting some XP here, although there's really no reason not to right click while you're moving around collecting XP because your movement speed is the same. Part of me is trying to not kill the trees. If I keep shooting fireballs at the trees, they are gonna die. All right, I think can either get an extra bat here or a bug. We'll take the bug. The bug hanging out will cause some extra lightning damage, which will cause some extra recharging of ammo. You'll notice at the moment, you know, whoopsie, I just wandered into an enemy. By this point in the game with the SMGs with Spark, I was already going infinite and able to just mow down all this stuff pretty easily. Now our damage is certainly fine and we are shooting out pretty good fireballs. You can kind of tell how good your fire rate is when you have the fireball upgrade by how quick the fireballs come out, because the fireball's 1 fireball every 5 bullets. So when you just have fireballs coming out of you in a stream, it definitely means that you're shooting out those bullets pretty quickly. Alright, we're gonna... Whoops, I almost walked into another enemy. And that could mean I just die. I should probably try to get... Oopsies. Oh boy, this is awkward. You know, at this point, if I do get offered either an HP upgrade or a soul heart upgrade or a holy shield, I think I gotta take it just because, you know, while I'm not bad at this game, with these eyes shooting the projectiles, I definitely am aware of the possibility of just getting randomly hit and dying. And it would be nice not to do that. Okay, we killed the mini-boss. I don't know if this is going to be useful or not. More projectiles, less fire rate? Oh, Jesus Christ. Nope. We're going to leave that on the ground. So yes, I was very lucky with my first chest, it turns out. Not just because having double your fire rate while spinning is extremely strong, but because I could have gotten that upgrade itself, which is actively harmful to what this build is trying to do. Okay, so here what I'm trying to accomplish is just picking up as much ammo as possible. We really want more fire rate. This is from the fire rate tree. This is not that helpful. I'm gonna take the soothing warmth. Much as that hurts, it's not what I really would have wanted. But it was like 0.05% chance of, or something of healing on burn. It's a really, really tiny chance. 0.005 or something, or 0.05. What is it again? 0.05%. Yeah, that's a very, very small chance. But we have so many bats and fireballs happening that even that tiny chance will happen. And it's just very efficient. Because for survivability, of course, I could have taken any one of a number of other trees. There's a bunch. There's the soul hearts. There is the health, and then there's the divine shield. But that would all have unlocked new trees that I don't care about, thereby diluting my pool. This lets me take an upgrade from a tree that I already have open. It takes something out of that pool, increasing the odds of me getting more useful things from the pool of stuff that I find valuable. So it does like kind of a double whammy on the probabilistic front, where it doesn't add new stuff to the pool, and it takes something out of the pool while solving my problem. What is 0.0? So it's 0.0005, a decimal, and 3 zeros, and then a 5? It's a small probability. All right, we got not the greatest set of upgrades here, but we can just take something out here and just have more bullet speed. But we'll take that, I think. The refills having a chance to restore ammo help me stay infinite just a little bit longer. Of course, that is contingent on me picking up experience, which isn't always happening, but I'll try to be a little more aggressive about that. You'll notice, by the way, that I've already healed up to full, thanks to my fire healing upgrade. That one is just very strong. It's one of those upgrades that in a lot of runs it doesn't matter, because you either are very overpowered and have not taken any damage and so you don't care about healing, or you're so screwed that healing every 1 in 1,000 or whatever that is just doesn't matter enough to save you and you're still dead. But in this case, you know, could I have made it to the end of the game without getting hit again? Probably, but this just gives me some reassurance. Okay, we finally get the splinter, Jesus Christ. And I do think this is gonna make a difference, because that means more bats coming out and freezing. It also means we have more assassination happening. Yeah, that was a big deal. That really let me clear the field here, which is important, because as you can see from the electric fence that has just appeared, the boss has arrived. Where is the boss? Okay, so we're gonna just try to keep our distance from the boss to not get hit by his electric storm. And I'm gonna keep the cursor pointed at him to shoot the fireballs at him, and I'm just gonna hope that my bats take care of all the eyeballs. Oh, he got off a shot. We're gonna thread the needle a little bit here. All right, just Just making sure I keep right-clicking. There is a certain element of skill here of making sure you don't go too long without a right-click. One thing that I haven't been getting too much of is the reload. Oops, I just got hit. There, I would have died if it wasn't for that fire thing. I haven't been getting the reload tree, which is annoying because the kill clip would make a pretty big difference there. Okay, I definitely don't want to instantly die from taking damage. Elements is fine, speed is fine, but I don't think I need it, so we'll just take the elements. So it means that the enemies freeze for longer, and then lightning and burn do extra damage. I feel like that's just very good. Okay, so yeah, this has been, you know, a pretty good run. But I did not get the super, super lucky things. I was lucky in that my opening upgrades were the ones I wanted, but there's still stuff that I'm not getting. Like, it took forever to get Splinter. I'm still waiting to get the Siege upgrade. And, I think I'm gonna just take this. Yeah, I'm gonna close out that tree. I think that's the last upgrade from that tree. And I'm hoping that will increase my odds of getting the Siege upgrade. So I have a 33% chance to not use ammo when standing still. All right, I think I'm just gonna stand still for a little while here and just right-click every single time I can. Oh yeah, also the kill clip, which gives you a 5% reload speed reduction for every enemy that died since the last time you reloaded. That would obviously be incredible here. You know, I should stop being lazy. Let's pick up. Let's pick up all this experience. Since there is stuff I'm actually trying to get, let's go get that cheddar. Yeah, some combination of whatever the last upgrades I got were was very, very helpful because now I am very strong. Move speed and reload rate by 35% for 2 seconds after reloading. Yes, I definitely got the best upgrade first. The one that makes you double your fire rate while spinning, that was the best. All right, we got another upgrade from the fire rate tree, and it was the only useful thing there. So that is good. I'm still actively getting experience, so I would like to get Siege. Although at this point, I don't think I need it. I think I'm gonna win without it pretty handily. There we are. Actually, oh, I still haven't even gotten that. Holy crap, there could have been so many more bats. Wow. All right, 40, oh, it's 40% chance. Either I misremembered what it was or it got buffed at some point. I'm not sure. All right, we're just gonna pick a spot to stand that's far from trees. And we're just going to right click. You'll notice, watch how long this lasts. Okay, that didn't actually last very long because I was so effective at killing things that there was nothing near me to lightning. So I wasn't able to recharge my ammo in time, even with the extra bullets. All right, I'm just gonna spend some time getting experience here. We're kind of low level, honestly. We're not. We just hit 30. What are we at here? Reaper rounds, more damage and piercing. Everything else is a new tree though, so we're gonna take it. Unfortunately, I did kill the trees, or a tree. It's just I think the fireballs shooting out so fast do eventually burn those trees down. Ooh, when you gain ammo, gain 35% fire rate. That's sick. So whenever the lightning triggers to gain me more ammo, my fire rate increases, so I shoot faster. All right, we're gonna have to do the final boss here, but the good news is that since I am Bat Lady, I can just run away from it and let my bats take care of it. It won't get close enough to me to kill me. All right, bullet damage and size or glare doubling. Let's just get even more pickup range because I am trying to level up as much as possible. I'm a little under-leveled here. And also, picking up experience while moving around refuels my ammo. So that seems like a good thing to do. Wow, I am running out of ammo very fast when I move. It's almost like losing a 40% chance to not use up ammo makes a difference. All right, more burn damage is good, but we're gonna get more bats. We're just losing a quarter of our bullet damage, which is totally irrelevant because bullet damage basically has nothing to do with why these enemies are dying. They're dying because they're getting burned and lightninged and burned some more. All right, just trying to go for where I see the biggest clusters of experience orbs. One nice thing about killing the trees, at least, is that it now becomes possible to pick a spot on the map where there are no trees. By the way, if you don't like the tree thing, you can pick one of the other maps, the third map. has like a wall across the top and the bottom, so it's like a left to right corridor essentially. And there's no trees, so you can have like a more pure experience. That one also makes it easier to get all your XP. So less move speed, but you get more projectiles and more fire rate? Absolutely. Who cares about move speed? I just want to sit still and not move. Still running out of ammo, unfortunately. The fact that the bullets from the SMGs can do lightning damage with spark is a very, very big deal. In fact, you could even play spark with the Batgun. You don't get to do the spinning thing, you have to keep it held down and actually shoot, which is obviously gonna play a little differently from this. But having all these bats flying around and having a chance of each one doing 50% chance of doing lightning when it hits an enemy will reload your ammo a lot more. On the other hand, these bats are so effective at killing stuff that my screen was basically empty before the game even ended. We're just crawling with bats here. So probably not as strong as the Lightning SMG version of the Elemental archetype, but it sure as hell is fun to fill the screen with bats. All right, so we're at 1 second, but the game's not over because there's a boss coming. I guess we'll just add a couple of bats to the chamber. I actually don't know where the boss is. Where is the guy? Is that him over here? Oh my god, look at that. All the, wow, that's really cool. All the bats are just going over there. The bats are telling you where the trouble is. We're just shooting fireballs at him, and we're just gonna myrtlate this. Wow, this guy, you know, he's not exactly myrtlated. It took a while. It's taken a while here, but he's essentially perma-frozen because there's so many bats, and each one has a chance to freeze that he can't move. So we're just piling up the burn damage. We're hitting it here. Let's try to get a little closer so more of the fireballs hit. There we go. That was super fun. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and or subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.